Lights, camera, action. Welcome to the Scrapbook Podcast, Director's Cut. And welcome back to the Scrapbook Podcast, Director's Cut. I am your host, Jody Pratt, with my special guest, Sunflower.
Hello.
And I got a story to tell. I keep fucking that up. I think it's an NWA song. I got something to say. Yeah, that's what it says. So it's going to be crazy because I wrote it all down on my whiteboard, and I hope it all comes back to me. It's called A Summer in Codville, and it's going to be a fictitious place. Obviously, It's going to be Codville, New Jersey. Okay.
Okay. I was thinking something else, but all right.
Picture summer, obviously, New Jersey. It's going to be a coastal town, you know, and a lot of fishermen, families, shit like that, businesses happening. This is about either 2007 or 97.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, okay.
We'll see how it goes.
I'll ask. If I remember, I'll ask at the end.
I'll remember, for sure.
Okay. So we have our protagonist, Richie Walters. He's a nice kid, real smart, wants to be a detective. You know what I mean? He's a little bit too nosy for his own good, as well as his parents got a divorce early, and so he started to act out with his mom. Mm-hmm. That's why he got sent to Codville, where his dad lives, to be with him for the summer, because she was, Richie's mom was a bit overwhelmed in taking care of him, you know. And Richie's 16 years old. He's the son of Richard Sr. And Richard Sr. is his dad, obviously, the captain of the Codville Police Department. He's 45 years old, and he's married to Tish Papademetrio.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And we'll learn more about the Papademetrio family and Richie's dad as the time goes past, okay?
All right.
So the play, movie, or whatever, or short story starts out with Richie being dropped off by his mom. His mom lives in Vermont. She drove him down, all the way down New Jersey. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just so his dad won't have an excuse to come get him.
Oh, yeah.
Because the first, let's say they divorced like when he was about 6.
Okay.
Right? And until he was about 11, his dad stopped seeing him frequently.
Mm-hmm. That was my next question.
You know what I mean? And that's when, that's about right. And he has another kid, Richard Sr. has another kid, Ryan Walters, who's 9 years old. Right? So about that same time he had another kid, he stopped seeing his first kid.
With another woman?
Yeah, another woman. That's Tish.
Gotcha.
Tish Papademetrio, and she's 27 at this time. So 9 years, yeah. She was super young, right? Yeah. Like I said, the Papademetrio family we played in, you start to understand everything.
All right.
Right? So he's being dropped off by his mom. His mom's just trying to give him a pep talk. It takes, fucking 9 hours, whatever however long it takes to, get to New Jersey from Vermont. And she's like, talking to your dad, he's a bit of a different person than, but it's okay. He's still your father, and you know what I mean? You'll love him, and he loves you. Just remember that.
Yeah.
And then Richie just like, fuck about none of that, bro. So he gets there. Tish answers the door with open arms. And I want you to picture kind Casino, right?
Yeah.
Remember they... honestly, I don't know if it's Casino or the other movie that's the exact same with the exact same characters.
I'll tell you.
Where they had that Tupperware party.
Goodfellas,
right? And you know the gaudy makeup and stuff like that. Not
as
the
soon
main
as you said
character's
New
wife.
Jersey and then like woman,
Yeah,
that's all I figured was like big, outlandish, like
big
dark hair.
Yeah,
like the nanny.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly, but less
sexy.
Yeah, but so she's like open. I was like, oh my god, oh Richie, you've been grown up so much. You know, open hands. He's just like looking back at his mom. His mom's in the car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With the car still running. Richie got all his bags and shit, and she sweeps him up in her little arms and shit, just hugging him. And he's just like, your father's working right now, and he'll be home for dinner, but guess who's all big and grown up now? And Ryan's just like, oh, hey. Like, you
brother.
know. Kid brother shit.
Yeah.
You know, he has no resentment towards this nigga. He's like, I missed you, dude. Like, I haven't seen you since I was... So right about now, it's been a couple of years since he's seen his dad.
Right.
So his dad's been off and on since he was about 11, I said.
Yeah.
And then further than that, he hasn't seen anybody since he was about 12, 13. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, the big everything, you know? And,
so what's the age gap between the two?
So he's Richie's 16, yes. Ryan's a 9.
Okay, so he's younger. Okay, yeah. That's what I want. I was making myself confused.
So so they're like, oh, talking like, you get acquaintance with your brother. Like, Ryan's so happy to see you. I'm going to talk to your mother. And he goes down, talk to his mom. The mom doesn't want to talk to her and shit. And she's like, oh, like, trying to coerce her out of the car to give her a hug and shit like that. She's like, nah, I'm good. You know, cut scenes from them talking and shit, like, you know, take care of him. He's my only boy.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. He's like, don't worry. I want to take care of him. Don't worry. And then, like, gives her, like, a smudgy-ass fuchsia lipstick kiss on each side of her cheek. And he just, like, and she's like, you need some, you know what I mean? You need a little bit of pocket change. And takes out like a fat roll from her titties. Right? And she was like, no, I don't need any of your money. You know what I mean? And then she was like, don't worry, it's on me. And then like takes out, counts out a few hundies.
Just throws it in the front seat.
And yeah, throws it in the front seat. Yeah, that was even better than what I was going to say. Yeah. Throws it in the front seat, right? And she was just like, rolls her eyes and like, doesn't peel off, but like starts to roll forward. You know what I mean? Takes her foot off the brake. You know what I mean? Starts to roll, and then she just, you know, speeds off. She's like, "I love you, Richie," and then he's like, "I love you too, Mom." And then Ryan's going on just like, "I have a tree house. I got toys, nigga. I got nigga. Then I got a TV in my room, bro. We get to share a room, bro." And he's just like, "Fuck, bro." Okay, and like, "Oh man, that's cool. And then Tish comes back in the house, and he's like, we already got your job set up, and it's at a diner, and Jenny's Diner. You've eaten there before. We all have eaten there before. You remember Pop and, you know, Jenny and, you know what I mean? He's like, yeah, I kind of remember them and stuff like that. And there's a girl there. He's like, oh, she's all grown up. You know, you guys are going to be working together. You're like, don't get any ideas, mister. Like, poke him in the stomach and chest. And he's just like, fuck out me. You know what I mean? And so he's like, where's my dad at? And she's like, he's just doing business. You know, your dad, you know, he's busy with work all the time. You know, he's a big wig now. He just became captain not too long ago. Backstory, setup, right? And he's just like, oh, like, okay. And she's like, guess what? And then comes out the closet with his fucking uniform. Like, you're starting today.
Oh, fun.
You know what I mean? And he's like, oh, great. You know, she was like, I don't want, you know, I'm not your mother or nothing, but you need some structure. And he was like, I just have my books. Like, I just want to read my fucking books. I just want to get to this 3 months, nigga. You know what I mean? Do my time, get out. you know?
Yeah, make no peeps.
Yeah, and I'm just defending myself, really. People are picking on me. I'm just defending myself. People say I don't have a dad. I'm a bastard, stuff like that. And I'm just defending myself. And she was just like, no butts, no mutts, no coconuts, or whatever the fuck. And then he's like, okay. So he starts working that day, right? And so they get there, I want to say, afternoon, like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He starts work at 3. She drives him over there. He's like, your father will come get you after your shift, right? He goes in there, sees that girl that he, so you know what I mean? Like he grew
automatically
up with
spotted her.
Yeah, kind of got butterflies, and her name was like Mary Beth, right?
Yeah.
And Mary Beth was just like, Richie, like, oh my God, look at your mustache. And he's just like, oh my God. You know.
It's always a mustache with kids. It's like, you got facial hair?
Yeah. He's like, you're all grown up. And she's a couple years older than him, you know.
And then it's for her, it's like, your boobs came in.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just like, but to him, she's always had boobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, whoa, her titties are so much bigger. Like, you know what I mean? Trying to hold it down. He's just like, yeah, you know. You look so much like your dad. And kind of like.
Fizzles.
Yeah, you know. And then she teaches him shit. He catches on. And then the next day. Well, no. He catches on and shit like that. And he's getting shit. You know. And, the owner comes by. And it's a Papa Demetrio. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He was like, hey, I'm Vincent. I'm Vincent Papa Demetrio. And he just like, you're Tish's son, huh? He's just like,
Tish's son.
Yeah. And he's just like, you look good, man. Look just like your father. Come here, boy. And gives him a fucking kiss on the cheek and shit. He's just like, oh, y'all gay around here. You know what I mean? And shakes his hand and stuff like that. He's like, if you need anything, let me know. Okay?
I would like to get out of here.
As well as, and then he takes a picture from his pocket, and he's just like, if you see this motherfucker, if you see this guy right here, give me a call. He should be coming in a couple of days now. Give me a fucking call, okay? You hear me? Right into his eyes. And Richie right about now feels like ice, like rolled down his spine. He's like, I don't know shit about this guy. He gave me, you know, he talked about Ryan, you know, that's his cousin Tish and shit like that. Like, he didn't say anything that would make me want to feel like this, but I do. Yeah. So he goes and he's like, okay. He's like, do you want to hold on to this picture? He's like, no. I have pretty great memory. I'm okay. I'll call you. And then gives him his number. He's like, okay. And then smacks Mary Beth like on the ass, like on the way out. Real inappropriate. So it's probably dating it. You know what I mean? Just like, you don't know their relationship. Right. But he might have pressed. Yeah. To get, you know what I mean? To get some ass.
Well, also, I mean, if she's older, so if she's a couple years, 18.
18, you know what I mean? So she can do whatever the fuck she wants to. But caught her off guard. But she was more so embarrassed that her ass got slapped in front of Richie. Yeah. They kind of have a past, you know what I mean? They shared their first kiss together kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Although he's younger. Like, you know what I mean? So he leaves and, you know, he's like, mop these damn floors, Vincent says as he, like, walks out. And there's a couple other people working there. And one of the workers comes by Richie. He's just like, hey, man, like, can you do me a favor? Like, I know it's your first day, but can you cover me on Friday? So let's say this is a Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Cover me on Friday. Like, they don't have you on the schedule for, you know, the weekend, but, you know, you look like you need the money. Trying to, like, coerce him into it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whatever people say that for you to pick up hours, you know. My mom's sick type shit, you know. Yeah, and
like, I'll cover for you another day if you need me to.
Exactly. I'll cover for you, bro. You can have a long, you know. He's like, do me a favor, bro. Just do me this favor. And he's like, okay, like, fine, dude. Like, all right. He's going to cover Friday. And then as he's like, shaking the hand to
like seal the deal.
Seal the deal. His dad pulls up. You know what I mean? In the police whip. Murdered out windows.
Yeah.
And he honks the horn. And he was like, oh, that's my dad. Right about now, it's about 9 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So he worked like, 5 hours or so. 6 hours. And Mary Beth's like, all right, bye. You know what I mean? Just like, don't be a stranger. Obviously, bitch, he works with you.
Yeah.
But he gets in the car. He was like, hey, Dad. And then he's like, it's kind of labored. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, hey, man, like, maybe he meets him outside of the car, right? He honks the horn, like he doesn't come out. Like, who the fuck is that? And then he gets out of the car, and then you see him.
Yeah.
He's about, I want to say 6'2", 6'3", 180 pounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And 5 o'clock shadow, but thick brown hair. You know what I mean? Maybe a little bit past his ears. He steps out with his hat, his captain's hat on and shit like that. He just has his like a white collared shirt with a tie on. And then he like holds out his arms, waiting for him. And then Richie kind of gets excited.
Yeah.
He kind of gets excited to see his dad. And he comes out. And he's just like, Dad. And he's like, come here, boy. And like gives him a big hug. But not an embrace hug. He starts to pat him on the back. Like, you know what I mean? Just like you don't know how to hug.
Yeah, like this isn't real. This is,
Yeah, and he's just like, how you doing? Like, you're getting big, man. Kind of gets him into a headlock. Trying
to break the ice.
Yeah, get him into a headlock. He's like, Dad, stop. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
After, laughter turns into, all right, okay, nigga, cut it out. He's like, all right, you know what I mean? You don't go all aggro on me like you're doing at the boys in Vermont. You know what I mean? It's a different animal over here. He's just like, what did Mom tell you? He's like, just get in the car. They get in the car, and he's like, you hungry at all? He's like, no. Like, Mary Beth made me like some Salisbury steak and shit. Something fucking dinery.
Mashed potatoes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I ate
mushrooms.
there. He was like, let's go. I gotta get some gas. You still like Coke? And he's just like, my dinner said I shouldn't be drinking Coke like that. And he's just like, what do they know? You know what I mean? And he's just like, I want to be the fun guy.
Yeah.
I'm Dad, And he stops at the gas station, gives him Coke, and he gives the guy the 20. He was like, I want a part where you see the true nature of his father. Should it be here at the gas station or should it be at home?
It depends on what nature you're going for.
I want the animal in him, the real dad that hasn't been around him for a constant since he was 12, 13 years old.
Well, because of the whole history with the Papa Demetria, which we don't know yet, but I think if it's what I think it is, then maybe it could be the gas station. And I mean, we can see right through the gas station windows. You know what I'm saying? So he's sitting in the car and he sees his dad kind of leaning over the counter, and they're talking about something else other than gas.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. Maybe
it could be just simple as a jolt of the neck sweater thing.
Yeah, I think collar. Maybe he back smacks him.
Yeah.
In the face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lateral smack.
Mm-hmm.
And then he points into his face, and then like maybe some cornball, like he hands him an envelope or something.
Something, or it doesn't have to, no, it doesn't. My thing is, it doesn't even have to be anything handed off at all.
Yeah.
That's too obvious. It could just be some matter that they had to talk about. And obviously.
How about this? So he goes into the gas station, and somebody's like, he's walking behind him, but like the guy's not paying attention. He's all like on his phone or reading something, or you know what I mean, and like, or scratching a scratcher, walking back in there and bumps into him, and then you see the real him.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Just so it's not I don't know what that conversation was about, but I know for sure with the guy who bumped into him, that conversation wasn't good. You know what I mean? You can interpret the smack in the face or, you know what I mean, the grabbing of somebody's collar as anything. You know what I mean? As anything, as in anything could have got us here.
Right.
You know? But maybe somebody's like, or a homeless dude like bumps into him and he like brushes off like his shoulder and then like grabs him up. You know what I mean? But you only see like maybe the top of his head over the aisle because his dad's so tall and shit. So he like brings the dude up and just like gives him a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, watch your fucking step, pussy. And the dude just like, oh, I'm sorry, Captain. Like, I didn't even know it was you. Like, he was like, and then like maybe he feels his son watching him, and he turns his head to look at Richie, and Richie looks down, hella fast.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah. I would maybe not homeless, but like just a random
He's a regular
person.
guy.
Yeah.
That's why I said the scratcher, and then I changed to homeless. But
no, I like the scratcher guy.
Yeah.
Do they have any history? Do you think?
No, it's just some guy who fucking bumped into him.
Okay.
That's why it shows that the animalistic tendencies that he has because this guy just bumped into you. It's my bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be a fucking, hella.
It's not a conversation.
Yeah, it's not hella built into it. It's something so small he'll flip over. Imagine something big.
Right. So he's like has him up by his collar or whatever, held him up.
Yeah.
Sees his son, puts him down, and
No, not even sees his son and puts him down. Maybe he does what he does, and then he feels his son looking at him. Then he turns over. You know what I mean? Because nothing's gonna change an animal from being an animal.
Right.
You know what I mean? How many times has a fucking lion in captivity been fucking somebody up, and the niggas that have been training him his whole life is like, hey, stop.
Yeah.
And he doesn't fucking stop. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want him to change like, oh, I'm going to change my character because my kid's watching. It's I am in this until I'm done, and then the repercussions are later. Okay? So he gets him his Coke and shit like that. They walk back inside. He straightens out his hair, and he's just like, he's like, I know you're not hungry, but Tish made you food. You're hungry, okay? Like, he kind of tells him before he gets out of the car. And he was like, okay. They get in there, and surprise! Like, this big-ass, like, everybody's in there from the Papa Demetrio family, like, welcoming in Richie and shit like that. He's like, oh, man, like, I missed you. Like, I mean, like, people have kind of saw him throughout town kind of thing. Like, but he's just like, I don't fucking remember.
I don't know any of these people.
And then he shows, like, pictures of them being together. But it's so seldom that they've known Richie. I mean, so seldom that he's been around. But they have proof, though. You know what I mean? Just like that uncle that you didn't think that you're around, that auntie, but you were kind of fucking around them. You know? Just nothing sticks out in your memory. And, like, and there's, like, 50 bodies in there. You know, the done-up women and the guys that are just, like, giving handshakes with $50 bills in them and shit. You know what I mean?
And they're all named Sal and
Vince, or like, more Greek.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Costa, fucking Tom, shit like that.
Right.
You know? Alex, you know, more Greek on the Greek side. Mm-hmm. So they're dapping him up, you know what I mean? Putting money in his pockets and shit. And the party's over now. Like, I want that to be a little bit. Mary Beth shows up later on with, you know, milkshakes or some shit like that, you know, because she just got off. And it's about midnight now. And, you know, the shit cools down and he got a pocket full of cash and shit, and, you know, he puts his bags up and he sees he's sharing, half of a room that was kind of hastily put together.
Yeah.
And he tries to, get some alone time with his dad, but his dad's busy. He's talking in a group with 2 other guys, right? And they're, chit-chatting and shit. And, and the thing is just like, you can feel they are talking to him, more so him talking to them, kind of, putting enthusiasm in behind it and shit like that. He just like,
yeah, a lot of hand gestures and right? Eyebrows.
And then they shake hands right before, like, as Richie's like walking up the stairs. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then he goes into the room, and then Richie's like with the little cousins and shit, and he's just like, and Ryan's there. He's just like, oh, this is my big brother Richie. Like, you don't remember him, but and he's like, hey guys, I just want to lay down right now. He's like, you hurt the men, like, get out of here. You know what I mean? Shit like that. So he's like laying down, and Ryan passes out.
Yeah.
Sleep like in his bed. You know what I mean? Like talking to him and shit like that. And then Richie picks him up and puts him in his own bed and shit. He goes lay down. Maybe he peeks out of the door and sees Tish talking to his dad and shit. And maybe they're having some sort of conversation, or she's picking up something. And she's like, you're better than this. You know what I mean? And then he like feels eyes in the dark, and he like looks over. Like that's how much
like anxiety or paranoia he may have.
Exactly. So he like shuts the door hella hard. And
like, I'm tired of you looking at me.
Yeah.
I'm used to this.
Yeah. But so Thursday happens. Everything, same thing. Not same thing, but he goes to work. His dad's gone when he wakes up. Tish is making burnt ass pancakes and shit. And, Ryan's just like, you want to ride bikes with me and stuff? And he's just like, I'm going to go to work early. Like, and he's just like, is there like a car here? She's like, I heard you in cars. I got you something. And he's just like, okay, like, for sure my mom told you the truth about, me trying to run over a fucking bully or something like that, or crashing the car trying to, drink with my friends or some shit like that. And she gets him like a brand new
Vespa
2000 or 1999 Huffy. You know what I mean? And he's like, oh, you shouldn't have it. She put a bow on it and shit. And he's like, oh, I know you love it. Wear your helmet. Toss the helmet out his chest. And he's like riding his fucking bike to that bitch and to work at Jenny's. That's Thursday. He still flirts with Mary Beth. Doesn't see anybody, whatever the fuck. So Friday comes when he's not supposed to come in there. His dad's already gone. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go to work. She's like, you go to work today? And he's like, yeah. She's like, are you sure? Like, you're not? I don't think you're supposed to. And he's like, yeah, I'm supposed to. Like, well, why you asking me about this shit? Or even she is taking a nap on the couch in the middle of the day while Ryan's just like playing with toys on him, and their dog is barking and shit like that. And he's like, fetch, and throws a fucking action figure like smooth across the whole house, breaks some glass. And like the mom doesn't budge. Tish doesn't budge at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, Ryan, tell your mom when you wake up, I'm going to work. And he's like, okay. And just like started running face first into, into the fucking house. Face first through the house. And so he gets to work, and Mary Beth is not there, right? So it's only Richie and the cook. And then I want to say 8 o'clock comes. So he goes to work about 1. 8 o'clock comes. He's like, it's about time to wrap up my shift. And then he asked David in the back, hey, David, is anybody else coming in tonight? And he's just like, I don't know. I don't know shit. You know what I mean? And then 8:30 comes, David dips. And he finds out because 2 people come in, they sit down, and that's the fucking guy from the picture. That's the guy from the picture that Vincent told me about. And he takes their order and shit like that. And he goes in the back. He's like, hey, David, they want, you know what I mean, chicken fried steak and shit like that. David, what the fuck is he? And he's sitting in the back smoking a cigarette. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he goes out there. He's like, I'm on my break, pal. He's like, all right, whatever, dude. I got to call Vincent anyway. And he's just like, you know, blows out smoke. He picks up the phone. Vincent, hey, Vincent, you know, the guy on the pictures here. And he just like, just hangs up the phone.
Huh.
Right? So he's like, well, you know, it's going to be a little bit of time. He goes back to the front of the two people. It's going to be a little bit of time. So you guys want, I got milkshakes on the house, you know, just to, you know, make it up for you.
By time, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, all right. One of the guy says, all right, I'll take a strawberry. All strawberries out. He's like, okay, I'll take a vanilla. We only have chocolate. You know what I mean? He's just like, okay, fine, I'll take chocolate. And he's like, and for you, ma'am? And he's like, chocolate? He's like, okay. You know, niggas new at this shit, bro. So he goes back there, gets the chocolate. He's pouring them, and he's just like zoning out, like staring at the chocolate, just swirling in the cup, like as it fills up, swirling in the glass. And he hears the front door go off. Jingle, jingle.
The jingle, yeah.
He's like, I'll be right with you. And then all you hear is clack. Get on the fucking ground. Get on the fucking ground. And he drops the goddamn milkshakes.
He was like, me? All right.
Yeah, and he's peeking out of because there's no door between the front counter and the kitchen.
Okay.
So he's like peering out, and then all you see is three dudes, right? One is Vincent. One guy he's seen at the party talking to his dad, right? And the other guy is wearing a mask. And he's like, oh shit. And so he's standing in the middle between them, but in the back.
Got you.
You know what I mean? So they're in front of him by like 10 feet. I mean, by like, about 10 feet. And the front door's to his right, and the people are sitting to their left. The guy's like, put his hands up, and the girl starts screaming and shit like that. They're like walking briskly towards him. Shut the fuck up! And one other dude clacks the dude in the black mask. He has a pistol. You know what I mean? Maybe a 357 Magnum. And they're walking towards him. You're like, oh shit. Like, the jig is up. And so they're passing him, and Richie's kind of turtled a little bit.
Yeah.
And he's looking, and they're walking past him, and Vincent doesn't give a fuck. He's just walking with a double barrel shotgun. You know what I mean? The other dude, he sees Richie, and he just like gives him two fingers, like,
go down,
get down.
Yeah.
You know, and then the guy in the black mask sees him and stops. For like that split second feels like an hour. And he's like, oh shit. And he gets down, like, face on the floor. He's starting to hyperventilate. Like, and he's like closing his eyes tight. Tight as in he wants there not to be the sound he's going to hear.
Right.
He wants that to muddle sound. That's how tight he was closing his eyes. And like he's breathing out of his mouth. He's trying to regulate his breathing. He has anxiety issues. And then all you hear is like, no, click, bow, click, clack, bow, right? And he was like, little bitch, get off of me. He was like, nail him. And then you hear the 357, boo, boo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they run out. And then all you hear is like a nigga gurgle. And Richie just like doesn't know what to do. And that kind of like the sound of the front door jingling, it kind of snaps him out of it. And he's just like gets to his hands and knees, and he's crawling to the open part of the counter. And And he looks to his left, and dude's chest is wide the fuck open.
Oof.
Woman has no fucking head. You know what I mean? And he's just like, and he's staring at Richie like in his fucking face because I see you, see me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's just like reaching out towards him, and he's just like, and like, you know, clumsily turns back around and is reaching for the phone. He dials 911 and shit like that. And he's just like, there's been a shooting, like, I don't know, like, fucking, it's at Jenny's Diner. Like, you need to come here. And they're just like, are you sure? Like, King, like, who, did you see anybody? He's like, I don't know. Just fucking, you know, help. Like, I need fucking help. You know what I mean? And I want to say like 3 or 4 minutes later, after the gurgling stops, ambulance pulls up, police officers pull up, and he's sitting there like, you know how a flashbang goes off in not Gears of War, but the video game you like to play,
Call of Duty,
mm-hmm. And you just,
yeah,
that's what he's like, and he's sitting there on behind the counter, you know what I mean, on a stool, and they're trying to get a statement out of him and shit like that, and some of the officers are looking at him, but he feels they're looking at him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he's just like, the moment he looks at them, they're doing something else completely different. Like a breaking sanity kind of thing. And he's like, I mean, I don't know. I didn't see anybody's face. It's all a blur. I don't know. And they're just like, well, you know what I mean? We can take you down to the station, you know, if this environment's too much for you, kid.
Right.
And they take him down to the station and shit. And his dad's there, and he's like, what's going on, son? And he's the first person to like interrogate him. Not interrogate him, but get information out of him. It was his dad. He came in there. He's like, "You all right?" He's like, "I heard what happened. It's a messy thing. You know what I mean? It happens around here sometimes. You know what I mean? It's not the place you grew up in. You know? So don't take it like you brought this upon us. You know what I mean? Type of thing. He was like, do you recognize this guy at all? You know, I have to go through these steps and shit. And he's like, no, I don't even know who this fucking person is. And it turns out, you know, probably throughout the whole shit, it turns out that he was a union rep for the local fishermen in that area. And he was going to crack down on, you know, organized crime in the fishing industry type of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Seems like he was going to, you know, cause some shit. So the summer goes on after that. Like, big fucking tragedy. Fucking Mary Beth trying to get a hold of him. He's like, I'm not going to fucking work, bro. I'm not doing that. You know, I got money from, you know, the party or whatever.
So I'm quite fine right now.
I'm good. You know what I mean? He's trying to get a hold of his mom. His mom's not answering. And every time, it's like phone tag. Yeah. You know, but she calls like in a weird time. And she leaves a message for him and shit. He's like listening to it over and over again. He's like, fuck, bro. And it's slowly coming back to him. Because he's seen everything. Mm-hmm. And maybe as a car left, like, he sees the getaway car as well. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And he sees the license plate. And like he said before, his memory's damn near photograph.
Yeah, he has a good memory.
Yeah, he has a great memory.
Which is how he remembered the guy. Like,
yeah, exactly. So keep that in mind. So days go past and shit like that. And he's like reading books and shit. And to you know, make the days go faster. And maybe like a week after this shit happens, he starts to read like, I don't know, like some Hardy Boys. Hardy Boys shit. You know what I mean? And or some mystery shit, and he's just like, that's like, it's fucked. Like, why would they want to do this? Is this like multiple people? Like, how are they? Is Tish involved with this shit? So he starts to like spider web shit. He's writing down names and shit like that. Who he's met, anybody who stands out. Like, who's that guy in the black mask?
I was just gonna ask that, but I think I have a hunch.
Yeah.
But
so, who's that fucking guy in the black mask? And he's like going through all this shit, and day after day, his paranoia and anxiety is getting higher and higher and higher. He's having nightmares about the guy in the black mask. He's he's waking up to what he feels like he's being shot in the chest. You know what I mean? His dreams are, he saw that guy, like what he thought the scene was, it's him being shot.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then he had a dream of him holding the gun. You know what I mean? And then the black mask peeling off, and then there's another black mask.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's like
looping.
Yeah, looping. Like he's staring out the window one night, and then he feels like he sees somebody outside staring up at him with a black mask. You know, and then there's so that happens Friday. A week goes past, so there's Sunday, the week after, right? And then there's a barbecue.
Okay.
And everybody's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it's a celebration. Vincent comes in there, pops champagne and shit. And he sees Vincent, and he starts to, like, low-key hyperventilate.
Yep.
And it takes every ounce of strength in him to go up to Vincent. And he's like, oh, what can I do for you, pal? And he's just staring at Vincent in the face. And he just, like, gives him a wink. Right? And he's just like, shit. And like, that cold as ice feeling comes back.
Right.
You know? And walks away. I'm like, oh shit. Like, I'm not even, it's kind of like not a first person and second person. You're looking at the nigga. He's like, I'm going to be fucking sick. Goes in the bathroom, throws up. You know? And as he's throwing up, like, Mary Beth comes in there. He was like, you okay? Like, you don't look good. Let me get you some water. He's like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. You know what I mean? He's just like, no, you don't look fine. And she's like, got a cold towel on him. They made it up to his room and shit. And they're like sitting there and shit. He's like, breath smell like vomit and shit.
Blech.
And he was like, what if I told you that? Like, I saw the people who did that shit the other night. I saw the people who did that the other night, and she's just like gives him like a blank stare, and puts her finger over her mouth like, and closes his door, and just like, you didn't see anything, you didn't see shit. You know what I mean? And he's just like, okay, at least I'm not fucking crazy. You know what I'm talking about. I feel like niggas are just watching me and shit. He's like going off on a, spiel.
Yeah.
He's like this and that, and he shows him the spider web, and her name is on it with a question mark, and she's like, and grabs it and just crumples that shit up. You gotta fucking stop. And he's like, oh, okay, right. All right, bro. So they kind of like, she talks him down off the ledge. She doesn't say much, but she says enough. And he's like, okay, like, I got you. I'm going to, whatever. And she was like, this summer is going to go by quick if you don't fucking ask any questions. And he's like, okay, like fine. He's just like, and then she starts to like, fucking, seduce the nigga a little bit. You know what I mean? Because who the fuck knows how deep she's in?
I was just going to say, because Vincent's slapping her on the ass.
Yeah.
And she's been there for years.
Yeah, her whole life.
So what has she seen? What has she done? What is she involved in?
Yeah.
Like,
you know what I mean? And she kind of gives a little bit like, this is a the Papa Demetrio is a family. It's like, you know, who the Gaudis were. Like, this is a Greek fellowship over here. Why do you think everybody's like Orthodox Greek over here?
Yeah.
There's Greek churches here. You know what I mean? They change all that. They run all this. She didn't say they run all this shit. Like the Papa Demetrio family is embedded. That's what she says. Embedded in this community. From Codville all the way to whatever the fuck.
Right.
Into the next state.
Yeah.
All across the coast. They own, why, you know what I mean? They own the fishing industry here. And he's just like, they own, like, what do you mean they own it? And she's like, you know what I mean? Trying to kind of snap herself out of it because she's trying to get this nigga some knowledge, but at the same time not hurt her because she's been trying to lay low. You know what I mean?
Right.
And because she's seen what happens to whatever the fuck. So...
And him only being there for 3 months, like, he can't know anything, really.
Yeah, because you're not going to see your fucking mom, dude. Like,
and he'll stay there forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, you got to... And Vincent, stay away from Vincent. Stay away from him. Don't help him at all. You're just going to find yourself in... You know what I mean? You're going to end up owing him a favor.
Damn.
You know? And he's just like, nigga, if you would have known that I gave that phone call. You know what I mean? And he's like, okay, like, you know, then they start talking and shit, laughing and shit, kind of breaking the ice. He's calming down, and his anxiety's waned. And, like, they gave, you know what I mean, start, you know, they kiss each other, right? Whatever the fuck, they kiss each other. Maybe to some, and I call out to you with open arms. So date it, whatever the fuck. You know, that shit's playing and they kiss each other. And right as they kiss each other, guess who walks through the door?
Vincent.
Vincent does. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt something? And she's just like, ugh. And just like rolls her eyes. And she was like, yes. And then and at the same time, Richie's like, no. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, nigga, this could be your girl, bro. But although you're married, whatever the fuck, you know? And she's like, looks back at Richie like, as he said no, she's like, kind of like, not rolls her eyes, but just like, I see you at work.
Right.
And dips off, and then he just like, ow, like Vincent does, and he sits down next to Richie. He's like, Richie, my boy. Seems to me like I owe you a favor. Anything you want. Huh? You want, I heard you like a little drinky, pal. Or, you know what I mean? You know, Mary Beth, she's a little nice dime piece. I could get that going for you. You know, well, that kind of tells a little bit more backstory they have together. And he's just like, no, like I'm good. You know what I mean? He's like, anything you need, I got you. Don't worry about it. Okay? You hear me? Stares right into his eyes. No smile. None of that. Anything you need. And he's just like, I got it the first time.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
And he's just like, all right. Smacks his face. Pop, pop. Walks off. You know what I mean? He was like, I like you. You remind me of your father.
Uh-oh.
You know what I mean? Walks off and shit. And he's just like, oh, fuck, nigga. Like, so, you know, the weeks go past. He goes back to work, right? His dad and him, they're talking more, you know. They start doing more things together and it's without Ryan. You know what I mean? So they're starting to, he's like, what do you think about, you know, coming up here and living with me? And he's just like, I mean, that sounds fun. You know, catches him in a fun mood.
Right.
So he's like, you know, that seems cool. You know what I mean? I got to ask my mom. He's like, don't worry about your mom. Mom's going to be okay. Well, what about us? You know what I mean? Like, you can go to school up here. You know what I mean? You could work for the police station. You know, whatever. You know, because I miss you, pal. He's like, damn, Dad, I miss you too, nigga. Like, I'm trying to be strong and shit, nigga. I'm drinking with my friends back in, you know what I mean, Vermont, nigga. I miss you, dog. And he's just like, don't worry about that. The past is the past. Just know that I have you always, always. Remember that. And he's like, yeah, you're right, nigga. Like, you're right. And he's like, Dad, I gotta tell you something. And I don't know how to say this, but like, I saw, you know what I mean? Like, he says that everything he has. And his dad just quiet. And he was like, I don't know what to do. He was like, I'm glad you came to me with this, you know what I mean? You skipped the chain of command. You didn't want to tell anybody that. I'm proud of you for that.
I figured it was going to go that way.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, And he's like, okay. Like, damn, that felt good. Gave him a hug and shit like that. He's like, so are you going to, arrest Vincent? Or he's like, no. He's like, what the fuck? Hard squint. And then, like, quiet the whole drive home. They get back in there, Ryan's in the front yard, fucking trying to do a wheelie and shit. Biffs it. Bow! Hits the back of his head. He's like, oh! And then Richie helps him out. He's like, you good, pal? He's like, I'm alright. I need some ice and a Band-Aid. You know what I mean? Kids trying to, prescribe shit to themselves.
Yeah.
And Richie Singer stays outside and shit. And he just starts smoking a cigarette, And he goes in the back to his back garage. And he's just like, just chilling back there and shit. And there's a car back there. He has a few cars in his whole shit. But this one was like covered up halfway. And Richie's like, yo, where's my dad at? And she's like, in the back. And then he goes in the back and he's sitting back there like watching the game or some shit like that in the back garage. And he sees a car and he sees a half of the license plate.
Yep.
And usually he's very attentive. Like, he just looks around at shit. But that catches his eye. And he's just, like, stuck. So, like, a whole mystery thing goes on. He's, like, fucking, talks to his dad, makes sure, like, small talk. Leaves and shit like that. Lays down in bed, like, with his eyes open. He just stays awake the entire night. Right?
Piecing together the puzzle.
Yeah, like, it's kind of like, how a person's still and everything's moving hella fast forward around him. Exactly. So he's, like, piecing it all together. He's just like, this and that. This equals this. Oh, shit. Whoa.
The math.
Right? So he's, like, he's waiting until everybody goes somewhere, you know what I mean? Tish never leaves the house, but he, like, gasses her up to go strut her stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Take Ryan out, you know what I mean? They gotta see you around the block, you know what I mean?
Go get your hair done.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Gives her some cash. He was like, ooh. You're like, I can tell you, your father's son, you know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, gives her like a wink. He's like, stop. You know what I mean? Like, gasses her up hella. And Ryan's just like, can I go? And she's just like, he's like, go and put on your shoes. And then, like, by now, Richie and Ryan, like, made up a handshake and shit like that. And that gasses Ryan the fuck up, too. And he's like, I'm gonna go, big brother. I'll see you later. Runs outside with his cape on and shit, and you know what I mean? And now, Richie's, like, going through the house and shit. Right? And at this point, since he saw that half of the license plate, he flattened out the map, the spider web he made of names, and he added more names. You know what I mean? And the churches and shit, but he can't make the connect the dots to it. Shit, who's at the top, who's doing this and that. And then he puts his dad in bold letters. You know what I mean? Puts it on the desk. And now he's going through shit. You know what I mean? Then there's a safe, right? And he's trying it. He's like, beep, 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 beep. Beep, beep, beep. Like, trying, like, when's Ryan born? Fuck! When's that nigga born? And then, like, when's my Tish, then how old is she? Plus Ryan's age, Plus my dad, when's my dad born? And then he puts in his birthday. And it's his birthday, right? And then it's a pretty large safe. You know what I mean? And he opens that shit. And guess what the fuck he sees?
The mask.
And the 357.
I knew it.
With 4 cases of ammo. Right? And he's just like, he sees that shit and he's like, fuck.
I now know too much.
Yeah, right? Closes that bitch. Lays in his bed, eyes open again. 3 minutes go past and he's having an anxiety attack. He can hardly fucking breathe. And then he's just like, I gotta go to the fucking garage to see if this might be fake. Just like everybody's been watching me, everybody's been doing this and that. It might be fake.
Yeah.
What the fuck? You know what I mean? Goes into the garage, peels the whole goddamn thing off, and there he fucking sees it. There he sees a 1995 Honda Accord, forest green with the fucking license plate on it. As you know what I'm saying? And he sees it. He sees it and he's just like, is this fucking real, bro? And he just stares. And then he hears a car in the back, right? And he covers that shit like halfway and dips, pulls down the garage, runs back in the fucking house. And he's just like in a pool of sweat. He just, you know what I mean? Breathing, fucking like laboring breaths. Somebody's unlocking the door and shit like that. And before they unlock the door, he runs upstairs and shit, right? He does something, and it's his dad. His dad comes home early and shit like that. He's like, "Hey, bud, like, are you here?" And nobody's answering. He was like walking up the stairs and shit. He's like, "Richie, like, I just saw Tish and Ryan. They say you're still here. Better not have Mary Beth up there, you know what I'm saying?" And he hears nothing. And he looks into the room and he sees a big crumpled map like on his. He doesn't even look at it. He's like, "Richie." Goes into the bathroom lights on. He peers in there. You know, building the suspense.
Yeah.
Walks back into his room and you see Richie standing there with a black mask in his hand.
Oh, boy.
357 visible in the safe still. So he comes to his dad with open arms, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without violence. But he's just like, you were there. That was you. And then like this cold look comes over his dad's face. And he's like, "Richie, you gotta know. I did not mean for any of this to happen like that. They have a hold on this community. You know what I mean? Like I moved from Vermont as a sheriff to come here, you know what I mean, to better this. You know, they kind of coerced me to move to this town exactly, and I met Tish at this age and shit like that, and she was incentive in a way. And then they made me captain and I'm too far in, son. Like, but it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want you to be a part of this, but your mom told me she was having a bad time with you and shit. And he was just like, I don't want to fucking hear that. This is you. And then he's like squeezing on this fucking black mask and like throws it in his dad's face. And he's like, "Son, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to just fucking fight against him and then I'm the one in the body bag?" And he's just like, "I don't know, but I want you to be, you know what I mean, fucking better than this, bro. You're part of the problem, man. Like, you are the person documentaries are written about in a bad light." And he's just like, "Son, you don't understand." He's just like, you know, "Don't fucking call." And then kind of get heated, right? And his dad is just like, "Relax, son." He's like start to hyperventilate, Richie does, and shit like that. And he's just like, I can't fucking breathe. Like he's grabbing out his chest and shit like that. And He's like, son, like, relax. And he's like, holding on to him. He's like, no. He's like fighting him and shit like that, flailing his arms. His dad just like holds him down. He's much, much bigger than Richie. Richie's like, I want to say like 5'7", 240. Like, he's a chunky kid, you know. He holds him down. He's like, son, relax. And then he's just like, no, like, I need to, you know, I want to call mom. Like, you know what I mean? I got to tell her, like, I got to call, like, the police. Like, I got to, and then he's like, slowly, his dad's aggression is getting higher and higher because he's just flailing. He just won't stop moving. And he's finding himself choking Richie. He's just choking him and choking him. He's like, son, sit the fuck down. Sit down. Relax. And he just slowly and then and the flailing starts to get slower and slower. He's scratching at his dad's fucking hands and his skin and shit like that. And he's just holding him. And he's just like, tears are coming out of his eyes. His foam at the corner of his mouth and shit like that. He's and his speech starts to turn to grunts. Like, and he just feels a pop in Richie's neck. And he's like, Richie, fuck, man. Like, and he's going through all this shit. And when he hears Tish come to the door, and Tish, like, he calls for Tish. He's like, keep Ryan downstairs. Come here. He goes up there and she, like, muffles a scream under her fucking freshly done ass nails. And then she, like, soothes Richard Sr., like, petting his hair and shit like that. He's weeping into her arms, bro. And she's holding him. And she's like, don't worry. Like, wash up. You know what I mean? Everything's going to be fine. And he's like, my son, you know what I mean? My son. And she's like, go to your other son now.
Yeah.
He leaves and shit like that. And then in walks one of the many faces that were at that party that night. Two of the many faces. And they go upstairs, and Richard Sr.'s hands are in his head. His head's in his hands. Ryan's just like la 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 la, like making airplanes and throwing them at his dad's head and shit. Just oblivious.
Yeah. And
then go upstairs and with 2 bags, like gym bags.
Yeah.
They go upstairs and shit, and they see Richie on there, and then Tish is just like, points to him and shit. And they rig his body up onto, like, they tie like one of his dad's ties around his neck, and puts it around the door handle of his bedroom door. And he sits at an angle, and they pull him like real tight and like at an angle. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he's kind of diagonal to it. So, you know what I mean? He chokes out, and it would make sense of the neck relaxing to a point, and he doesn't have high muscle or anything like that, so his neck could break under his own weight. You know what I mean? Because he was a chunky kid. And on the back of the web that he had, Tish wrote with her left hand, because she's right-handed, with her left hand, a suicide note. Right?
Was he left-handed?
No, but it's a unfamiliar
right, okay. So they wouldn't be able to decipher.
Couldn't see that it was a woman's handwriting, you know. Writes that shit, and they call the police after they leave and shit, and the police come, and they're standing outside. They're sitting in the car, right? And they're just like, we just got home. Like, he's upstairs. And the note's like, my high anxiety and
nobody wants me.
Nobody wants me. Like, my mom gave me up and my dad, tried to show me love, but I couldn't, the pressure of life, shit like that.
Yeah.
And just like, why, you know what I mean? I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. Like, and I love you, Dad was like outlined. You know what I mean? I love you, Tish. I love you, Ryan.
Yeah.
But I can't go on with this anymore. And they get it, take his body out. And like in the movie, the movie or play ends with him being pulled out of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the camera slowly pans upward or something.
Yeah, something like that. Or just it zooms into the dad's face and it's just cold as ice.
Yeah.
How you feel about that?
That got worked out way better because I remember when you first told me the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like bare, roots and shit like
that.
Yeah. So about this time, the Papa Demetrio family's feeling a little bit of pressure from the Italian mob that's been, those motherfuckers in the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
They own so much less, but they what's the name that I had? That union rep was a part of the Italian mob.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So they had to retaliate.
They had to, because you're pressing in on our shit. We had this shit. We're cool, bro. And so usually that's when the deaths come. That's when the fire bombs come, shit like that. The wrecked cars are when the Italian mom's trying to press in again. They want a piece of the action. That's their lucrative part. And the Papa Demetrio family was not having that shit. And that's who they pointed out. That's who Richie pointed out and killed. Yeah. Anything you'd change?
No, honestly, I would not.
It worked out like...
Yeah, no, it worked. It's pretty worked out. Like, I don't think... The only thing to make it longer would be dialogue, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And this is like I said in the prior episode, this is every single episode, every director's cut is a first draft. You know what I mean? Literally, it's the bare bones. We give you guys stories that we've come up with, but they're all in the first draft stage because they haven't been worked on, revised, rewritten, revised, rewritten. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The only thing I would add is more Mary Beth.
More Mary Beth?
Yeah. Because, I mean, like you said, there's background and stuff like that. Maybe we get to know a little bit of that background. Or, like, maybe there's more of a rapport between her and Richie because they're supposed to have that little kid history, you know?
Yeah. But I understand that, and I totally agree. But there's supposed to be a line drawn in a big gap between them now because she's a woman now.
Yeah. She's
not the 15-year-old anymore. She's a woman now, and she does woman shit. You still beat your meat in the bathroom and with the water on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like that is why it's not as intense, but just enough, you know what I mean, to get him,
Yeah. No, some play.
But yeah, I totally agree with you though. But that's why it was so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in a later draft, if you guys want me to add on to this shit, I would add, for sure, I'll add that. More dialogue, of course.
This would be fun to add on to.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I was looking at everything that I have. I have about, I want to say, like maybe 12 stories that I haven't, besides what we're going to do in October. Maybe 12 stories that I haven't, touched yet. But this was one of them, and I really like this one. And it was, I believe you helped me with this one.
Yeah, you asked me about the name of the town and then a Greek last name.
Yeah. What year should this be in?
You were already going with the 90s, so 97. Yeah. And then even before you said the 95 Honda and, all that.
It could be an old beat-up whip.
True, but I mean, it kind of goes, because when you were talking about the car, the getaway car.
Yeah.
I pictured it as like sparkly new.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know, he has a bunch of cars. Maybe he collects them, or maybe he has them for those exact reasons, whatever. That one just happens to have a tarp on it, which means it's either a model possession of his or it's used for things.
Out of town shit.
Yeah. And it's high maintenance. It's kept up. It's not ugly, you know, because, I mean, there has been a lot of saying that the ugly cars get the looks, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
They get the attention the most.
Probably like a brand new ass, newly detailed 95 fucking Honda Accord.
But it makes 97 would probably fit a lot more than 07.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way that everything sounds and all that. Sounds like a small town. Sounds like, you know, the diner that would be in that small town. Family owned by these Papa Dimitrios, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you change anything with Richie finding out his dad?
I don't think so. Cause it kind of was unexpected for me for him to even be like up in his room with the damn mask in his hand.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't expecting that, but I'm glad it didn't end in like, I'm going to point the same revolver at you.
Yeah, that was cool.
You know, I felt it.
It was written out on the whiteboard that Richard kills his own son. And then stages his murder as a suicide.
Okay. No, that was brilliant. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that either. I thought they were just there to get rid of the evidence.
Yeah.
But they did more than that. Yeah.
And maybe his anxiety causes psychosis and shit, and that's part of the reason why he was drinking at his mom's house and shit, and because his anxiety gets so bad, he starts to see shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His paranoia gets so high, he starts to see shit. And his mom didn't know how to, because it's 97, so it's not like, you know, the Ritalin was there, but a lot of mood stabilizers weren't available, I think.
Well, and then also, too, I like this approach just because it's not like your average, he was doing drugs and doing shit at a young age, so we're going to ship him off somewhere.
Yeah.
Like his other parents' house in another town and state. It was more so, it was mild. Like, he was drinking with his friends. He might have totaled a car or two, but it wasn't anything like off the top behavioral issues. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, mom just couldn't handle it because she's a single mom, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have any other kids.
Yeah.
And maybe she's trying to make ends meet, and she's got a deadbeat job that she's at all the time. And then she's got her kid that she might feel like she's neglecting or something. Yeah, and then she's like, I can't handle it. I gotta get a break. You know what I mean? Exactly.
She might feel like why he has anxiety is her fault. And maybe she needs a break from her.
Father figure as well.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe he needs his dad right now more than me because I can't help him.
Yeah, maybe you can get through to him.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
a male-to-male type thing.
And his anxiety bouts scare her. Like, I feel like he's going to die. You know what I mean? And plus, he's a chunky nigga. I feel like adding his body type and who he was, you kind of see the picture better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And who he was and why he acts like this and shit. And how the Hardy Boys motivated him to investigate. You know, and, you know, maybe his, I don't know. Yeah. What would you rate that out of all the stories that I made?
Out of what? 0 to what?
0 to 100.
Oh God, that's such a big scale. What am I comparing it to though? Just the ones that I've heard so far, or
the ones that I've done with you?
Okay.
Seven's Desire. Goddamn. What is that called? Who you were, you are no more. You know.
That one was pretty good.
Yeah. Heat. And that title's Heat.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. See, the reason why I'm so quiet is because you're a good storyteller and I just sit there and listen.
I try. I curse too much, but after listening to Edgar Allan Poe, I'm like, yo, nigga, I ain't shit, bro. Like, there's levels to this shit. That's why the nigga killed himself. No, I'm playing. I don't know. But after listening to him, I'm like, I gotta step my game up when it comes to these stories.
Well, I mean, it could be the detail, but it's also in the vocabulary.
Absolutely. maybe I should curse a little less and add
Me.
and add a little bit more words to it, because all he said, it was a bit confusing.
Vast and ghastly.
Yeah, he was just like, I fell on my chin and my head was in the air. Just like, the words are simple but good as fuck.
You fell on your face.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But how the fuck did he end up on the table? Anyway, maybe he was blindfolded. But yeah, so boom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, rate it.
I don't want to rate it because there's too many good ones.
Okay, out of these three. So this one, Summer in Codville, Seven's Desire, and Who You Were You Are No More. Not which one is better, but what would you rate it?
Like 1, 2, 3.
Well, no. Just this one.
Just this one?
In comparison to the other ones. 1 out of 100.
Oh,
no pressure.
No pressure.
You are my wife, though. You gotta sleep in the bed with me. I'm just saying.
You sleep with me. I don't know what this whole me sleep with you thing is. I would say it's in a good 80th percentile.
80th?
Yeah.
That's a B. You know what I'm saying?
Like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And there's nothing...
Is it better than the other ones?
I wouldn't say better.
Oh, nigga. Okay, yeah. I want you to tell me the truth because...
I am.
Patrick gives me a lot of...
Bullshit. I'm kidding.
When the nigga ain't smoking, he's like... I cut out that nigga breathing one time. I breathe pretty heavy. You can hear me inhale hella hard, but that nigga was just like, I'm sorry, nigga. I was just invested. I was like, ah, my nigga. Okay. Thanks, babe. I appreciate it.
I also wasn't expecting you to tell the story today. I thought it was going to be one of your new ones.
No. I wanted to do the drunken cowboy, but...
Man, you need to go ahead and do that.
I'm going to write that shit out.
Yeah, you need to do that anyway because it don't matter.
It's been on my mind. Thank you for joining us on the Scrapbook Podcast Director's Cut. It was Jody Pratt's story. This is Jody Pratt with my fellow host, Sunflower.
Goodbye.
Later. I love you. We love you. Don't stop being creative. Peace.
You're all right.